Right, so that was more epic than it actually needed to be. Welcome to the Ministry of Smarkness, kind of a wrestle talk show that me and my friend Mark created. Yes, his name is actually Mark. Mark the Smark. Right, so massive plug for Eric Minnesota for creating the intro for us. Well, creating the cover in the background. We spliced some clips that were kind of sound clips, and if you're watching this on YouTube, proper clips that we liked from the history of wrestling. So, why did we make a podcast? Well, this first episode is for the celebration of the WWE Network launched in the UK.
I'm afraid I've got some bad news.
But of course, we don't actually have the network, do we?
No, we don't.
Why do we not have the network?
Right, so basically, for some reason, Sky have pulled out an injunction on WWE. So now us UK fans, who are probably one of the biggest fan bases in the world, can't actually enjoy wrestling or wrestling on the WWE network. So if you want to watch wrestling in the UK, you're either caught with Sky Sports or you're going to have to stream it online.
DNS that.
Yeah, DNS it. Obviously, if you're a smart fan, you're from the UK. You can still buy a network subscription, but you're going to have to use a VPN or Holler or something like that to actually get you up and running. Which it's a workaround, but it's not ideal because the amount of times me and Mark have been watching these streams and it's just been cutting out just because, everyone's using it at that time. Yeah. And bearing in mind the network's got issues anyway, it's just like it's more issues than it needs to be. Right, so we're going to explain what our history of wrestling is and why we love wrestling, why we hate wrestling, and current states. So I'm going to throw you over to Mark, and he's going to have his little say.
Okay, right. Well, when I started watching wrestling, it was back in the early 2000s. I was quite a late starter. I missed the Attitude Era completely, but I started watching around, I'd say, the Ruthless Aggression era, but I was actually more interested in the stuff that had come before because I just didn't relate to any of the characters in the Ruthless Aggression era. The first match I saw that actually got me into wrestling, I think, wasn't from either of those eras. It was Big Boss Man versus, I can't remember who, but I just remember watching that and thinking, wow, these are some very sort of eclectic characters that I really want to sort of follow. And then when I started watching, the Stone Colds, the Rocks, the Kurt Angles, that kind of thing, that was just basically where I started watching pretty much weekly from there onwards. But like I say, that was Attitude Era stuff. So I'd have to go back and I'd borrow people's tapes. I'd check it out online.
God, tapes, remember them?
Yes, VHS.
God.
You have to rewind it before you give it back, otherwise you get pissed off.
Literally, I remember my first kind of interaction with WCW. My mum bought me must have been 2002 or 2003. My mum bought me a WCW Best of the 90s, and it had some your proper big matches. You hit your Hulk Hogan heel turn, your Hulk Hogan Goldberg match. It was absolutely insane, and that was my first glimpse at WCW. Now, I come from a family where we always love wrestling. And I'm Andy, by the way. I probably should have mentioned that a lot earlier. So that's the Andy and Mark show. But I was a huge fan of wrestling ever since I was younger. Now, over here, Monday night, especially in the Ruthless Aggression era, Monday Night Raw was not as big as SmackDown. And I think that's over in the States as well, SmackDown was just on this roll during the Ruthless Aggression era where it was absolutely, you had the years of Triple H just absolutely burying everyone. Before he's actually become a really good guy with NXT and stuff like that. But back in the day, Darth Barriers was had his shovel in full swing. So over here, Saturday, 10 o'clock, Sky One, you watched your 2 hours of SmackDown and your 1 hour of Bottom Line Raw. And I've watched that from, I'd say, 2002 to about 2007. And then I went on this weird hiatus till about 2012 or 2013, and that was when The Rock and Brock Lesnar come back. And that was what got me back into wrestling. And there was no reason for me stopping watching wrestling. I just kind of fell out of love with wrestling. I can't actually remember when I stopped. The latest I can remember is when ECW first come in and when CM Punk debuted. Yeah, that was the earliest that I could I can remember me stop watching wrestling after that, and I can't remember 2008. Can't remember when it converted to HD. All of these key matches, and I really regret it because I miss stuff like the Summer of Punk, and
I didn't. I
yeah,
actually went through that. Speaking of hiatuses, I actually stopped watching. I think it was like 2007, 2008, because I'd grown, bored of the product. And it was actually the Nexus that brought me back.
yeah.
Because I really enjoyed.
Again, the Nexus. I mean, that was a great arc. And the thing is, like, we're both young guys, and there's reviewers, there's people that make podcasts which are several years older than us that automatically pull out the card and go, well, we know what the Attitude Era was like. We know what good wrestling is. Well, we know what good wrestling is as well. Yeah.
We know good wrestling.
Well, we grew up in a different age, but the thing known as the internet. Obviously, we won't be able to capture our live reactions of where was you when Hulk Hogan lost his title. But obviously, we can go back and watch these things and enjoy it with everybody else. And I think it
says something as well when you got younger guys like us that didn't catch the Attitude Era, and we can still sit there and say, "Where's the Stone Colds? Where's the Rocks?"
Yeah.
Even like mid-carders like Spike Dudley and stuff like that. I miss the Dudley boys.
Yeah, I've got to be honest. But you wouldn't miss the Dudley Boys if you watched TNA.
I know, but it's not the same,
But it's not WWE. And I think that's what the big problem is with TNA is it's not WWE. People get caught in this mould, and it's so hard to break that mould.
There is always going to be that comparison, no matter what wrestling product you watch.
So, what is our favourite past and current wrestlers? Now, this was a tough one, because I grew up in the Ruthless Aggression era. So, I think my boy Eddie Guerrero, he's definitely up there as probably one of the most relatable. One of the most relatable and one of the most iconic people from our time. And it was just a shame that he died when he died, because the guy was on such a roll. And I'd say apart from that, maybe it was Goldberg. But again, I wasn't a WCW Goldberg, it was the WWE Goldberg. But I just thought, when I watched that, I had no recollection of what WCW was, because I didn't watch it. I was too young to understand what it was. So when I saw Goldberg, I was like, holy shit. Well, obviously, I didn't say that about them, but I was like, oh my God, this is like the most amazing thing ever. So I think Eddie Guerrero on SmackDown, Goldberg on Raw, they just absolutely tore it apart. Especially if you watched SummerSlam 03. Holy shit. Like, Goldberg went in there and absolutely destroyed everyone.
What about your current wrestlers these days? Because a lot of the wrestlers, obviously Guerrero is no longer around, and Goldberg, he's been dark for quite a while. So.
Yeah, and it's a shame because, like, you never say never. And I think Brock Lesnar is a good example of that. Is he had that 10-year hiatus, and his return was so big, all of the fans that just lost contact with wrestling got back into it just because of people like Brock Lesnar. I know everyone moans about Brock Lesnar. Oh, he's on a part-time contract. Well, he paid his dues 10 years ago. You can't expect. And I think it gives the title a bit more prestige because it's not like it's got to be defended every single fucking B pay-per-view. And
it's going to be defended by a former UFC champion.
Yeah.
This guy can kick some ass.
Exactly. And I just think that, WWE have enough pay-per-views on, like, they have a monthly pay-per-view now, and defending the title, and it gets stale. That's why Cena's championships are stale. Well, that's one of the reasons. Yeah. So, favourite wrestlers at the moment, I'd say it's Bad News Barrett and Daniel Bryan. Bad News Barrett because obviously he's homegrown talent, and Daniel Bryan, I don't know, I had this click with Daniel Bryan like I did with Eddie Guerrero. Like, I instantly got connected with this guy, was really behind him. He was really annoying. It's really annoying that he's not on telly anymore, because it's like with Bad News Barrett and Daniel Bryan not being on telly, it's really hard for me to watch Raw and enjoy it. I know you've got Dean Ambrose and he's good, and Seth Rollins is good, but Daniel Bryan, Bad News Barrett are my boys, and it's like, where are they? And it's really hard for me to actually watch wrestling and enjoy it without them two on it. What about yourself?
Right, well, my past wrestlers that I find really sort of entertaining to watch would be, well, straight away I can name Chris Jericho.
Yeah.
He's always been one of my favourite guys. He's kind of got, I've even got his books and I hardly read. So when someone can write a book and I read it and I'm entertained, that to me is impressive. But the guy is just a natural, he's got natural charisma.
It's athletic as well.
Exactly,
Back in the day, Jesus Christ. I mean, he doesn't do it anymore,
I know
per
he's
se,
got,
but...
he's got older, so he can't really do as much stuff. But even, all you got to do is watch, like a year ago, Rob Van Dam versus Chris Jericho on, I think, Raw. And that was amazing. Guys like early to mid 40s, they've still got it.
Yeah, definitely. Obviously, RVD's got a little bit of a belly on him now, but...
He can still wrestle, though.
Yeah, he's still a solid wrestler. And
When he wants to, anyway. His
yeah.
TNA run was not so great.
yeah, it's a bit lackluster. Even if you watch these, like, where he comes into it, it's just he got immediately buried by fucking TNA, and it was upsetting to watch. So, discussing the current state of wrestling.
My current.
Oh yeah, go on. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, current wrestling. Dean Ambrose.
Yes.
Dean fucking Ambrose.
Fucking Ambrose. And I don't know why everyone makes this comparison to Stone Cold. Even online, I've seen it online. Even you've done it. I don't see it myself. I don't see.
Well, I think, like if you looked at Big Show, like Big Show went on that random like, I'm the most over, but I reckon I'm the most over babyface in wrestling history. The Stone Cold Big Show coming out in his rig and nicking Daniel Bryan's chance. That was copying Stone Cold. I don't think what Dean Ambrose is doing is copying Stone Cold. You can draw the comparison because he's like this lunatic and.
Anything to compare? I mean, Stone Cold wasn't a lunatic. He was just a guy that hated authority. Dean Ambrose, he comes across as a guy who throws himself around, goes through tables, and doesn't feel any pain. I mean, he came out with a kayfabe dislocated arm and carried on wrestling. That is insane.
Yeah.
But Stone Cold, he comes across as the kind of guy who he just doesn't like authority.
Yeah, definitely.
So I don't really see the characters being the same at all. I never saw Stone Cold as being insane, except that one point in the Invasion, where it was like, oh, JR was always saying, oh, he's paranoid, the paranoia, it's growing on him. And
What?
Yeah, that's one thing. As long as Dean Ambrose don't bring any chance like that, that's fine. They got annoying. Let's talk about the current state of wrestling.
So, discussing the current state of wrestling, and we're not just talking about WWE, of course. Yeah, obviously it's different now. It's such a weird era we live in. Like, we know that wrestling's fake, and we enjoy it. That we suspend our disbelief.
You're either in one of two teams. You're either in, okay, we know wrestling's, well, three teams actually. We're either in, we know wrestling is fake, but we're still going to watch it and we're still going to enjoy it and tune in every week and buy the merchandise and support characters.
Yeah.
Or you're in the field of, it's fake, I'm not going to watch it. It's not UFC. Oh my god, this is so fake. Or you're a 6-year-old kid who believes it's all real still.
Yeah. And it's just, I mean, even, it's, to me, it's weird that one company monopolises a whole industry. Obviously, TNA is going to be the B product, and it is a viable alternative. But in terms of big leagues, I don't think for a couple of years we'll come to the WCW, WWE like we used to.
Not since WCW have we seen any sort of rivalry with WWE.
Yeah.
TNA hasn't even come close.
WWE's at this point is too big. It's too big to, and the second that people understand that, they'll probably enjoy TNA a lot more than they do, and ROH and Lucha Underground. So they'll enjoy that a lot more if they just accept that it's not competition. It's just an alternative.
Yeah.
So why do we still watch it every week? Is the question.
Characters.
Yeah.
To me, it's the only sort of entertainment source where you can see two guys beat each other up with chairs that hate each other, and then the very next week they're on a tag team fighting each other together. That to me, the fact that people can, I mean, we're seeing it now with like Mark Henry and Big Show. They were, tag teaming for a little while. It's like, well, didn't Mark Henry break Big Show's ankle?
Yeah, it's too. I mean, it's like the whole Randy Orton Triple H thing as well, where like they're boys
like
now,
Mark
but
KO'd his wife or something.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden they're mates, and now they're not again.
I suppose that's good because that means that you can fantasy book all you want in your head. You can have that Cody. I don't know, like this is completely thrown out, like a Stardust Goldust feud because it can be possible. Like you wouldn't have that in.
I love all the what if elements. It's like you'd never see the Joker siding with Batman.
Yeah.
But in WWE, you can see that. You can see two enemies that really just want to kick the crap out of each other, and then the next week they're they've got to work together because I don't know. Triple H says, you know,
Yeah.
handicap match. 5
Or
on 1 something.
Teddy Long comes out and he's
Yeah.
like,
Holla holla.
"You gotta have a tag team match, player." But so just this is what I really want to discuss. It's got to be an honest opinion. Discuss John Cena, in your humble opinion, who John Cena is, his character, how he comes across,
To me,
his title reigns.
right. Okay. John Cena. Everyone in the IWC hates John Cena, and they'll tell you that. But everyone's got this opinion of, oh, I respect him for what he's done. He's a poster child. He has been placed in the position he is in by Vince McMahon and the WWE.
Yeah.
It could have been anyone.
Yeah, it could have.
Back in the day, it could have been Brock Lesnar if he chose to stay around. It could have been Randy Orton. It could have been Chris. Wow.
Yeah,
It could have
it could have been
anyone.
Stevie Richards.
Yes. To me, it's John Cena. He's one of those guys that's done everything they've told him to do, and he hasn't screwed them over by jumping ship and going somewhere else.
Yeah.
Yet he hasn't gone to Hollywood yet.
Do you know? And I was watching this film the other day, and a lot of people do criticise John Cena for his acting skills. And I think that some people are too hard on John Cena. At the end of the day, he is still a wrestler, but I just think people are way too hard on him. You know, I think he's a lot better actor than he is a wrestler. But his acting's not. It's not like he's Leonardo DiCaprio level acting, or he's like, you know, Academy Award winning acting. It passes. He's not as good as, say, The Rock in the acting department.
The Rock in Walking Tall caliber right now.
Yeah. So he's starting off. He hasn't been given his... Like, the thing is...
Walking Tall, The Rock was in?
Yeah. Yeah, it was. And he hasn't been given the chance that The Rock got given to go to Hollywood. So that's why and it's a shame.
Strange,
Because if they do let him do that, he'll shy away from wrestling and it won't affect our product. It's like a completely like, why wouldn't you just let him? If he wants to try acting, let him try acting. Don't let him star in a WWE Studios film, because WWE Studios are direct to DVD films. Randy Orton's a pretty good actor as well. I forgot to mention that. He's you got to watch this film called 12 Rounds Reloaded, and he plays a really good actor. But it's just, again, this WWE Studios got this horrible stigma of just producing terrible films.
John Cena, everyone says he's a terrible wrestler. You know, 5 moves that do him and all that. I've watched some of his stuff in, was it OVW?
Yeah.
He's actually really good back there.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it's age or anything. It can't
It's
do as many
it's
things as-
everything. I think it's everything. You look at CM Punk, you look at all the guys in NXT, all their moves get watered down. It's a WWE thing. So why wouldn't John Cena's moves get watered down? People apply one logic to one and then one logic to the other. John Cena he's not the best wrestler, but he's not the worst. Hulk Hogan wasn't the best wrestler, and he wasn't the worst.
He's a guy, I see him, and this is a very, very strange comparison. He's the Pikachu of wrestling.
Yeah.
In that Pikachu is a crap Pokemon. No one cares about Pikachu. But for some reason, he's constantly shoved down your throats, and he's the mascot, and he's on everything. He's on T-shirts, he's on...
Like, the first thing you think of Pokemon is Pikachu, as a Pokemon.
But it's, you know, I haven't got one on my... I play the game still, I'm not ashamed to say that, but I haven't got it on my team because it's crap.
Yeah. But yeah, so spoken a lot about who we are, what we're doing, what we think of Raw. So hopefully this pilot episode gives you a bit of an insight into, you know, what we want to talk about. And we're going to be talking about... we don't want to review. And a lot of people just flat out review. They go, well, this happened on Raw, and I don't like this because... I think that spoiling the show is too much. You could talk about stuff that happened in the show, but at the end of the day, you've got to watch it as well to get the same impact that we do.
Yeah, not everyone can watch it. That's why they listen.
We could talk about storylines and if we think they're going to work or they're not going to work, but I think reviewing the show, like inch by inch, won't give... It'd be too long for a start. Like, especially Raw, you know, it's 3 hours long, which is way too long, by the way.
But also, you know, you've got to split up between, okay, do we review SmackDown? What about NXT?
Yeah.
The main event? What about...
Yeah, well, if we start off by, you know, talking about Raw, we're going to have a brief mention of Lucha Underground in this one.
Yes, I've just finished watching... Well, not finished watching it. I've watched a bit of that today. It's actually looking really good. It's a very different style to what I'm used to, even compared to lower budget TNA and.
Yeah, but we might be able to get some TNA talk in. I mean, we don't want to come off as a WWE podcast, and a lot of podcasts come off immediately as WWE podcasts, like they only cover Raw, SmackDown. I have no reason to cover SmackDown because SmackDown is nowhere near the caliber it used to be. So, but anyway, Survivor Series is coming up. Obviously, I imagine you watch Raw. We saw the turn that everyone expected from the Authority. Who do you think the teams are going to be for Survivor Series?
Well, we've got John Cena against Team Authority. Oh, straight away, Authority team, I think, is the most predictable. There's going to be Triple H.
Yep, he's got to have his match. Got to have his yearly match.
It's basically going to be John Cena versus Triple H with a bunch of other guys sort of through.
Yeah.
So for Team Authority, I'm thinking Triple H.
It's got to be Rollins and Kane.
Rollins, Kane. Is it a 5-on-5?
I imagine.
Okay, Triple H, Rollins, Kane, Rusev. I think they're gonna throw in there for reasons I'll say in a minute. And the fifth guy. Who's the fifth guy? I'm not too sure. I want to say Orton,
Yeah.
but they've turned on him. They've recently turned on him.
Yeah, it'd be a bit weird if all of a sudden, like, I don't know if he bladed on Raw, but
I don't know, but if Orton is on Team Authority, he's going to make the jump to Team Cena.
yeah,
And it's going to end up in a 5-on-4 with the
Yeah.
faces, with the 5. John Cena's team. Obviously, there's going to be John Cena, Dolph Ziggler, I'm going to say Sheamus,
yeah,
and that will justify Rusev.
yeah. That'd justify Rusev being there. I think maybe they're fucking Usos or something. Like,
I don't know, because that would cover the last 2 spots, so that would make a 5, and it makes sense because they've been seen with Cena and they're seen as buddies and whatever. But because Rollins is going to be in Team Authority, I'm thinking Ambrose.
yeah, I didn't. No, because
Oh no, he's
Ambrose
Bray
is
Wyatt.
Ambrose is going to be feuding with Bray Wyatt, so
That's
I don't
the
think.
point, actually, rather than Orton on Team Authority, what if they put Bray Wyatt and then have Orton straight away on Cena's team?
Yeah. Well, I think you're on the right track. I think we're both going to be on the right track in terms of that. I think that it's going to be Team Authority is going to be Triple H, as it would be, Kane, Seth Rollins, and I think they're going to take this 2 Stooges. You know, Mercury and Noble.
Oh, that'd be cool.
Yeah, because they seem to be. All of a sudden, everyone's like, "We want Noble, we want fucking Mercury." They're appearing every week on TV. There is no reason why those 2 shouldn't be in that Survivor Series match.
They've even took bumps and stuff lately as well, so it's like they.
Well, yeah, Hell in a Cell, they was on top,
Exactly.
getting
So,
smashed, so it's not like they're injured.
They're sort of working the ring rust stuff.
Yeah.
And getting used to bumps again and stuff, so it's not too far-fetched to think they might be in a match.
I think that Rusev and Sheamus, I imagine, are going to have their rematch at some point.
Would that be a Survivor Series, do you think?
Yeah, it's big enough to be at Survivor Series because the title changed hands. I don't know what the fuck that was all about. Like putting it was on Raw, but exclusive to the WWE Network.
No way would they give the Rusev streak to Sheamus.
Nah, they wouldn't. There's no reason to. They'll give. I reckon if Ryback's built up in the right way.
Ryback, yeah.
Yeah, if Ryback's going to be on Team Cena.
Yeah.
It's going to be Ryback, John Cena, Randy Orton, and it's either going to be a tag team or it's going to be Dolph Ziggler. Yeah, I forgot about Dolph Ziggler.
I don't know, because they never really confirmed whether or not Dolph Ziggler was going to be on Team Cena. It was just said that, they'd been seen talking backstage and then Kane fought Dolph Ziggler.
Yeah.
I think it was Kane. Well, anyway, he messed up Dolph Ziggler.
Yeah, slipped over on Raw. I don't know if you got that. I don't know if you. Yeah, I don't know if you got the gif of it. That's why I love the wrestling community, because even like he trips over, but we make light of it. It's not like, oh, it's not like fucking ECW. Like, you fucked up. Well, you did fuck up, but it's just the way it is.
The thing is, the 2 teams, the way we've sort of paired them up and brought them together, is I'm just thinking about the rest of the card and what does that leave? I mean, WWE's obviously going to see about this too. If you throw all your big stars in 5 versus 5,
Yeah, you're gonna just have Heath Slater versus Adam Rose. Yeah, I think. Do you know? Sami Zayn was on main event yesterday. I don't know if you know that. Maybe they can throw NXT a bone. Put some NXT guys on Survivor Series.
Yeah, Adrian Neville, bring him up for that one time.
And the Ascension needs to debut at some point because they're a big tag team. So.
Do you want to briefly discuss some of the NXT talent that's come up?
Yeah. What that I think is going to come up, or
well, both the ones that are actually there in WWE now, and the ones that are preparing to come up. So your Adrian Neville,
yeah. I think my picks for this year going up in NXT, is Sami Zayn and Adrian Neville. I don't think anybody else will come up because otherwise you're just going to flood the. Oh, or maybe a tag team.
Ascension.
Yeah, and I think down in NXT they're going to keep Big Cass and what's his name, Enzo Amore, because they're doing that weird. They've brought another one in, brought a girl in, and I've forgotten her name, but who's like that sort of New York Italian. So they're already working out. There's no reason to move it. Obviously, you've got Hideo Itami, Finn Balor, and now Kevin Owen, big Kevin Steen, who's going to be debuting on NXT. I think Finn Balor's. Or Finn Balor, whatever his name is, Prince Devitt. I think his debut is going to be tonight on NXT.
Really?
Yeah, because what's today, the 5th? I think, yeah, I remember reading it's going to be the 5th of November. His debut is yeah, it's only an hour long, so it doesn't overstay its welcome.
Yeah. What about the ones that are already on Raw right now? So Bo Dallas, Bray Wyatt.
I don't see. Well,
even Wade Barrett, people like that.
Yeah, Wade Barrett's. He's coming back at Royal Rumble without a doubt.
Would you class Wade Barrett as an NXT guy?
Well, yeah, he
was
on
NXT, but he wasn't in NXT as a developmental.
Yeah, he was in it as like that weird, like tough enough thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, he could come up for NXT pretty much. He still went through FCW and all that, so he's in terms of turning him into a WWE guy. Bad News Barrett's probably up there. Who is the most successful NXT superstar? Would it be Bray Wyatt?
Daniel Bryan.
Oh, fuck yeah, I forgot about Daniel Bryan. Forgot about my own boy, Daniel Bryan. Yeah, Daniel Bryan, the most successful NXT star.
Even though that version of NXT was the very sort of weird game show sort of thing.
I think it was Curtis Axel.
Curtis Axel?
Yeah.
He was on the game show version as well, wasn't he? It was like season 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, and it upsets me what they're doing with Curtis Axel, because I know his dad's Mr. Perfect, if you didn't already know, you know.
I still don't understand why they haven't capitalised on that. It's
Yeah.
Perfect Junior or something.
Yeah, Curtis Axel's a fine name, just they've given him no relevance and no personality, or they've not let his personality shine.
I just realised he's the only guy, you know this NXT treatment they give people where you get Kenta and he pops up and it's, no, I'm Hideo Itami because, you know, I have a hero who was called Hideo. Curtis Axel is the only guy on the main roster where they've had the same treatment, where he's had his name changed from
Michael McGillicuddy.
yeah,
God.
but he's chosen Curtis Axel, which is his dad and
His granddad. Yeah. But I think that was a good nod to him. And they've, aside from that, and they let him win the Intercontinental title on his Father's Day, they've done nothing with him. Absolutely nothing. And that's really, really upsetting to watch.
They should have put the tag team titles on Ryback and Curtis Axel.
Yeah.
They wanted to start some kind of push or something. Just do something with it.
Well, like, Curtis Axel had no opportunity as soon as he came in. Like, he come in, immediately had Triple H thrown at him. Come in.
Buried Triple H, you know? That was
Yeah.
like the best debut ever.
Well, Triple H buried himself. He just had some weird concussion, and it was just really awkward. But then he got fucking John Cena thrown at him, and he didn't win. He kicked out the Perfect Plex, which is the biggest insult to. I didn't expect him to win, but he kicked out the Perfect Plex, and I was just a bit like, oh. But Ryback come out and saved the show. I think it was before Payback. Like, he come out in an ambulance and scared John Cena, and John Cena just had to confront him. So I was like, okay. So it's a shame what they're doing with Curtis Axel. Hopefully we'll see him soon. If we don't, let him go to TNA. Let him go to somewhere that's going to appreciate him.
Lucha Underground.
Yeah. Well, I don't know, because it's a different style, isn't it?
That's true, yeah. He doesn't really come across as a Lucha Libre kind of guy.
So, talking about wrestling promotions that don't overstay its welcome, Lucha Underground has made its debut on US telly. Now, again, because we're from the UK, we don't get shit. So we have to watch it on sites like Dailymotion, which is, it's not ideal. But anyway, we're going to be talking about Lucha Underground. So Lucha Underground, I've not heard of it before.
I didn't even know. It
Yeah.
just popped up out of nowhere.
Yeah, it seemed to have come out of nowhere, and it's
Fucking badass.
It is. It's kind of like. It reminds me of when I was playing the TNA game, and you started off in Mexico, and it just reminded me of that, and I was like, holy shit, this is exact. But they've clearly got a working relationship with AAA. I think it's the biggest Mexican promotion in the world.
Yeah.
They've clearly got a working relationship with AAA, and like the overall style of it's only an hour long. I really recommend anyone that's watching this podcast, please watch Lucha Underground, because it's not. TNA is an alternative, but TNA tries to be like WWE, and that's what pisses people off.
Lucha Underground is an alternative on its own terms.
Yeah,
It's amazing.
it obviously fixes on the idea of lucha libre, the wrestling style of lucha libre. You know, the style that got really everyone excited in the 90s with WCW, the cruiserweights, and etc. etc. Had people like Chavo Guerrero. Overall, it was just a really, really, really strong show, I thought.
I love the style of it. I love the backstage interviews. It looks very cinematic.
Yeah.
Which is something like I was saying to Andy earlier, TNA, it's got this sort of camera style backstage where you always feel like you're eavesdropping on what the wrestlers are saying.
I think that's intentional, though.
Which is realistic. But then you've got WWE style where the cameraman is completely ignored. Like,
Yeah.
you know, segments where you go into Stephanie McMahon's dream.
Yeah, and
And
it's
we know wrestling's fake. We know these storylines are fake. But, you know, treat us with some respect.
yeah, but this generation is like the generation of marks and smart marks. Like we want to know the backstage politics. We want to know wrestling more than we did back in the day where it was just a product.
Yeah.
And Lucha Underground, it's production. Like, sorry ROH, but your production values are like this could have the potential to be the third in the US. Yeah, because I was watching it. It's got Matt Striker. Like, I know it's got a different one for Mexican, like the Mexican audience, but it's got Matt Striker and Vampiro on commentary, and they call moves, and they treat it like a sport, and I think that's what gives it the alternative. It's not.
Matt Striker, he knows his shit. He knows what he's talking about. I think it was, what's his name? Jerry Styles, where he said that Vince McMahon used to tell them to not call the moves.
Yeah, and explain why they're doing this. They're doing this because it relates to this story arc and etc. 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 But I think calling moves goes a long way nowadays.
Yeah, and Lucha Underground, they do call the moves. And
Yeah.
Matt Striker, he's one of the guys that does that. And I think WWE missed out letting him go.
Yeah, definitely. Because I think he was a commentator at some point in WWE.
Matt Striker?
Yeah, because again, that was the years I missed. The years of Matt Striker being as commentator. The years of CM Punk.
ECW, I think.
Yeah,
ECW.
yeah. I remember him in ECW, the WWE ECW.
Yeah. Which was terrible.
Oh God. Yeah. If you want to find out more about that, watch the Paul Heyman one. Paul Heyman doc. He went in a white with shit.
Oh, ECW though, I remember watching, because I couldn't really... The first year or so, they did a really good job of making it look like the old ECW arena. And then they brought out the zombie. I don't know if you've seen that. And
Yeah.
if you watch it online, I thought that was like a really terrible sort of one-off gimmick from the early 2000s. That's what
Yeah,
it
was. Oh, and they spoke about that. Where it was like a deal with Sci-Fi, because Sci-Fi wanted like monsters in wrestling and stuff.
I heard that originally Vince wanted an alien, but Sci-Fi didn't like the idea of, because obviously they're big into aliens and
Yeah.
extraterrestrials and whatever. They didn't like the idea of a big muscly guy kicking the crap out of an alien. So which was why the next week on Raw, Vince actually had a backstage segment where he
Oh,
scared
yeah.
off an alien.
Yeah, I remember that. And yeah, it was just terrible. But the production, like talking about the production values of Lucha Underground, it's just a cut above what you expect. Like you expect this to be just a recorded indie promotion. When you're watching it and you're like, holy shit! Like the production value is better than TNA. Like they've got at least a 4 or 5 camera setup. They've got 2 hard cameras, 2 guys, you know, your moving cameras who are stand at each side of the ring.
Green cam.
Yeah, you got a crane above them. It's absolutely insane.
The commentators have got a camera. There's like a fucking pen cam or like paperweight cam. It's amazing.
Fan cam.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just insane. I really put effort into having as many. It's not obvious that this. I mean, occasionally you'll get a glimpse of the other camera guy in the opposite corner, but it's just insane. Like, and it really helps. Like, there was this horrendous. We was talking about this earlier. There was this horrendous botch by it was Blue Demon, who and Chavo Guerrero, and Blue Demon basically went for this hurricane run and pole drove himself. It was absolutely horrendous. But because they used so many cameras, they could easily change the cameras around so it looked like he did it okay. But if you was smart enough to like see it, you'd know he botched it. But yeah, you got Vampiro. Vampiro looked, Jesus, so different. Matt Striker looks the same. I think Matt Striker did a bit of work for New Japan, or he was going to do a bit of work for New Japan.
Was that just after he left WWE?
Yeah. He wanted to, do you know they did that pay-per-view thing?
Oh yeah.
Where he wanted to do like the English translate, which would have been good. But he's clearly found something that's good. A few talent that's worth checking out in Lucha Underground. Obviously Chavo Guerrero. Johnny Mundo, aka John Morrison.
Yeah.
And it's got Ricochet, and I can't remember his Lucha Underground name, but it's got Ricochet.
Oh, Prince Puma.
Prince Puma, thank you. And it's insane that because apparently he went to a WWE tryout, Ricochet, and it was the same one that the Wolves went to, or the American Pitbulls as they call them, fucking WWE. He went to the same tryout and he got turned down, which is what a miss that was.
Yeah. But Lucha Underground, it's definitely worth checking out. I mean, the thing that puts a lot of people off is they hear Mexican wrestling, and they think it's just going to be like
guys in masks running around,
jumping around,
eating nachos,
while the audience goes ole ole ole, and then,
yeah,
it's that Spanish word.
But yeah, it's
it's
like an American adaptation of Mexican wrestling.
Yeah, and you've got guys like Johnny Nitro, John Morrison, you've got Chavo Guerrero. So these are people that you're familiar with as well.
Yeah, so it's kind of it's trying to please everyone. It's got some older Mexican guys in there, which is like, obviously that's going to appeal to the Mexican audience. It's got the American icons, like I'd say that would be fucking Hennigan. What's his name? John Morrison. Sorry, not Hennigan. John Morrison, he's obviously going to appeal to your American audience. You've got Chavo Guerrero, again, who's going to appeal to that, like, American-Mexican audience. You've got Ricochet, who's going to appeal to your indie audience. Yeah. So they're kind of trying to make it so it goes full circle.
I can't get over their backstage interview stuff. It's so cinematic. It's obvious that it's staged, but we're at that point now in wrestling where we all know that it's staged.
Yeah, and it's like, well, why don't we just instead of avoiding it? Yeah, instead of avoiding it, just embrace it. Yeah. And I think definitely check that out. I don't know when the next episode's on. This randomly springed out of nowhere. I know it's on a network called the El Rey Network, and apparently that's not available in many homes in the US. So if you see it on Daily Motion or you see somebody Facebooking it or something like that, check it out. It's definitely worth watching.
It's got a very sort of gritty arena. It looks very gritty, but cinematic gritty.
Yeah, it kind of. If you remember, there was this really, I don't know, it's odd. It's called Wrestling Society X, and yeah, it was an MTV promotion. The production value, like in terms of the ring, how it's set up, is kind of similar to that, like that gritty warehouse vibe, but obviously the ring's not deliberately aged. But yeah, anything else you want to talk about on our first pilot edition of the Ministry of Smarkness?
I don't know. I can't really think. Oh, the one thing that everyone's talking about in wrestling, the streak.
Of course, the streak.
Well, we were there. We actually watched that. That was one of those. That was the first moment in watching wrestling as an adult that I'm going to remember where I was.
Yeah.
Who I was with.
Definitely.
Well, not what I was wearing, but what I was drinking or what.
Yeah.
I was in student halls in my kitchen, sat with Andy. It was 3, 4 o'clock.
Obviously, living in the UK watching wrestling pay-per-views, you've got to stay up till 1 o'clock in the morning. US fans get it so much easier than UK fans for watching WWE. Because we got to stay up to the early hours of the morning to watch a product that's not as good. And you've got to stay up till 11 o'clock at night to watch a product that's just as crap. So imagine how we feel when, like, you think, and a pay-per-view's that bad.
Yeah.
We just think, well, what really is the point in watching?
We've gone to sleep at about 5, 6 in the morning. We've had to wake up, and it's been a terrible pay-per-view or a terrible Raw or whatever, and then we've got to be awake in an hour.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And obviously, if you want to watch Wrestlemania or any pay-per-view, you've got Raw the next night, which is on exactly the same time. So it's exactly the same time for the next night. I try and get Raw and catch up or something like that, or just watch it online. Maybe.
It's not the same though, is it?
No, it's not. Of course not.
Because there's always going to be one of those moments that they cut out.
Yeah, and like live tweeting. I like live tweeting during the show.
Yeah.
And Facebooking the show and stuff like that.
Ooh, interesting story about when we were watching the streak. You actually fell asleep.
I did. This is the thing. It was such a contrast match. I mean, Undertaker's at the age where he's finding it harder to work with. I mean, Brock Lesnar's aggressive as well, so he's been known to like shoot on John Cena in the ring. So
before the match started, as it was coming up, and it was coming up next, the streak on the line, and we were, this is going to be great.
Yeah, it's just going to be.
We were thinking Undertaker is an oldish guy, Brock Lesnar is going to destroy him, but we didn't think he was going to win.
Yeah, I thought maybe like this is the vision I had in my head, that the lights would go black and they would set up Sting versus Undertaker.
Yeah, and Lesnar would just be sort of a
spark
in the wheel.
Yeah, spark.
Sting versus Undertaker.
Yeah, so like it would go out. Brock Lesnar would get hit over the head with a bat somehow. He'd be knocked out on the floor, and Undertaker would pin him, and it'd be like, well, I helped you pin Brock Lesnar. What you can do for me, type thing. Match at WrestleMania 31, but they didn't go that direction. We was watching it. He F5'd him.
Andy fell asleep for a while. And
yeah.
Sort of, it was a typical big man match.
Yeah, so boring.
And then Andy woke up, and it must have been 3/4 the way into the match, and it got to that point where it was, I think, Undertaker, did he tombstone Lesnar?
Yeah, Lesnar kicked out, and then he got him up for this F5. He dropped the F5, but he was like, oh, he's going to kick out because it's fucking Undertaker.
He's going to kick out 3. Ooh.
Yeah. What just happened?
And
just obviously,
silence that fell over us.
Yeah, you got the iconic. What's his name? His name's Ellis something. He was, the coloured guy in the front with the specs who had "Just Say Yes" on his front, and he was shocked out of his head.
Oh my god, we saw that live in first, because it was such a change in reaction. Because obviously we've got this, and Andy just turned to me and goes, "The fucking streak's just been broken."
Yeah, like that's like the streak. The thing that's older than us.
Well, not older than me.
Yeah, I mean, the streak that's older than me is now gone. Like, that's it.
Yeah, 20 years worth.
Yeah, 20 years worth of streaks. I don't know if he missed the WrestleMania during that. It might be 22 years.
He might have. Yeah, you're right, actually. I think he did.
I think he was injured for one of them.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's insane amount of time, and that's just been broken by Brock Lesnar. I think it was a good decision.
At the time, I remember we kept sort of going back and forth. First of all, it was, for fuck's sake, Brock Lesnar. Why Brock? And then sort of a couple of hours later, it got to the point we were, okay, Brock was actually a good guy.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, if Undertaker won, or just thinking about it, Undertaker's got to beat Brock Lesnar. Undertaker's not in shape. He's looking old. You've got to have a legit reason to beat a UFC fighter. John Cena is one of the biggest stars, one of the most controversial stars. No, he's not controversial. One of the biggest stars in wrestling. So you expected him to win. You expected Triple H to win. But The Undertaker's different because he just, even though he had that lineage, he was just so old. He couldn't fight. You would just think, this is stupid. Like, Brock's overselling for him. So when he did lose, it was like, oh, well, at least he lost to someone who's got a legit background.
There's people that keep saying, that he's killed the mystique of the Undertaker being the dead man. They're talking like the Undertaker's never lost a match ever.
Or they're talking like Undertaker's really dead.
Yeah, he's not. He's Mark Calloway. He's a guy from Texas.
Yeah.
He's a guy who my friend's fiance wore his jacket at a backstage event. He's a nice guy. He is a guy. He's a person.
Yeah, and again, it's smart marks. Like you.
The thing is, it's the smart marks that are complaining.
Yeah,
the same ones
it's
that he's just a guy.
He's killed the mystique of the dead man, but it's like you're watching a product you know is fake.
Guy.
Yeah.
The same people that are sat there going, "Oh, push Dolph Ziggler," and Dolph Ziggler's, you should beat Ryback.
And Roman Reigns is okay. 6 months later, I hate Roman Reigns. He's so overrated.
The same people saying we need, less gimmicks and less sort of.
And we need real contact. Yeah. Pull a Russian flag down. Or pull a US flag down. This is controversial. I can't take this in my wrestling. And the latest one, the best one, why was Rusev allowed to win the US title when he's from Russia or Bulgaria? Hang on, Sheamus was holding the title and he was from Ireland.
Yeah, I know, but he was a face. He wasn't sort of shitting on the title. But then again, I'm pretty sure
they've buried the title.
Cesaro.
Yeah.
He held the US title and he said that he conquered America. But maybe they just
and then was turned into a real American, which makes no sense.
Exactly.
But yeah, anything else to add on this episode?
Not with this episode. No.
Right, so this is pretty much our whole first episode. Hopefully you enjoyed our journey into our first audio podcast. Again, big shout out to Eric Minnesota for creating the intro for us.
Well, he didn't create the intro for us. He created it, and we
created
it up
with
permission, of course.
For creating the cover for us. This will be up on YouTube on our account, so please subscribe to our account, like our video, share it out as much as possible. It's going to be on iTunes as well, if you guys are into iTunes, and we're looking at other ventures as well. So again, I'm Andy. If you didn't catch me,
I'm
Mark Cooper, Mark the Smark. And this has been Ministry of Smarkness. I hope you enjoyed it, guys. See you later.